This is WFO Radio.
WFO Radio back on the air with the 2023 NHRA Lucas Oil Series World Champions. This is one of my favorite times of the year. We get to catch up with the champions. We're getting ready for a new year of drag racing. Everybody's getting ready to go again. But over my however long it has been doing these interviews and doing these shows and podcasts like this WFO Radio, I know if you catch them right afterwards, they say it hasn't sunk in yet. I don't really know. So you got to give them the winter break. And we're going to do just that with our NHRA Lucas Oil Super Gas World Champion, Trevor Larson. Trevor going to be joining us just seconds from now from Minnesota. He's had great success already, but this year was really amazing. The way he went through, starting pretty much halfway through the season and finishing out strong and winning the world championship in a loaner car. How does that happen in the 990 index category? We're going to ask Trevor. We're going to find out. If you love NHRA drag racing, we ask you to subscribe, click the bell, share the show. Let's get Trevor's story out there. Now, before we bring on Trevor, I just want to tell you this show wouldn't happen without these people. I will tell you about them at the conclusion of the interview. Maybe someday you'll need something from one of these folks. In the meantime, they are the reason that I am able to do these shows and interview these race car drivers after great moments like World Championships. And let's bring him on, our 2023 Lucas Oil Super Gas World Champion, Mr. Trevor Larson. What's up, Trevor? How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Well, you earned it, right? You're world champ, man. You get to be on the show. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
And we hung out at the Division 5 West Central Region Awards Banquet 2 years in a row now, and I'm getting to know everybody from that division and Kansas in particular. And you guys know how to party, and it's just so fun being able to do that. So it's an honor to be able to be the MC of that event, and you were the world champ. We had a couple of world champions in the house that night. That was a great time.
Yeah, for sure. It's always a good time there, and we appreciate you coming on.
And your whole family is drag racers. Like, that's something people might wonder, like, where do these guys get all the time to go race? And the answer is your whole family is heavy into this.
Yeah, for sure. My sister used to race. She doesn't anymore. She's married to Mike Sawyer, and so they race out east. And then my brother used to race as well. He's down in Arizona. Hopefully he'll get back into racing. And my wife and her father-in-law, or my father-in-law and my dad races. So family affair for sure.
Your father-in-law is also the Super Street Division champion, right? Out there, like back to back, like it's crazy. Of course, everybody knows Kendra. Just amazing. You guys all love this, and that's why you're able to dive into it so much, right? It would be weird if somebody wasn't into it.
Yeah, for sure. We're all into it. My father-in-law, like you said, back-to-back division championships. I don't think he realizes how hard that is to do, and it's pretty incredible.
All right, so let's talk about how this happened. You've had success in the past, but this year, 2023, it was really interesting because Sherman Adcock, and I'm sorry, Sherman, if you're out there listening, like, I don't want to rub salt into the wound, right? Like, I love Sherman Adcock. The guy's unbelievable. He's a god of .90 racing. He started off so hot, like a flaming ball of fire, that I think most people figured he would just win the championship because of his hot start early. You guys started really late with this championship run. It wasn't even really, from what I understand, supposed to be a championship run. Tell us how your 23 season for points came together.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we all thought Sherman was going to win it, and he started out so good. An incredible season for him. And honestly, I didn't plan on running Super Gas at all this year until my friend Chris Hess, who owns the car, he bought this Danny Nelson Roadster from a guy this last winter, and he just didn't have time to race it. So he asked me, I kept trying to get him to come, and he's like, I just don't have time. So he told me, just go test it for me in Topeka. And so I did, and runnered up. And then he basically just said, you go for the division championship. And that's kind of how we started.
That's awesome. Okay, so this is Danny Nelson Racecraft. Danny, of course, is a friend of WFO. He's out there watching from time to time. Number one, he's done a champion interview on the show in the past. People, you can go back and you can actually find that one. But I read in the NHRA, recap of your championship that this is one of one Danny Nelson Racecraft Super Gas Roadster. Like, I know he makes mostly dragsters. I didn't know that he built roadsters, and maybe there's something special to it.
I think he built this one for himself. I think it's a 14 or a 15. And I think he told me he ran it 1 year and then sold it to a guy. And yeah, he didn't make any more. And I think he still has the jig, but he's not making them. So
well, we might be selling a couple now after the way it worked out. All right. So you runner up at Kansas, and Chris says, run it more. And I can dig where he's coming from, right? Like, you're shaking down his car for him. You're making it right. You know what it takes. You've won the Jegs All-Stars. You've had so many great successes. But this car just worked for you. Where did you go next? And tell us how you were able to go on a bit of a run and amass some points.
Yeah. So I ran after Topeka. We had a double there. And then the Brainerd National was a month later or 3 weeks later. And I actually told Chris he should race it, but he said I did good, so just race it. And I honestly had no intentions of national points, but he just kept pushing me to race it at the Brainerd Nationals. So I ended up going to the semis in Brainerd. And then from there, I decided to go to Yellowstone, Montana the weekend after to get enough races in. And I runnered up in Yellowstone at the first race out there. So now I got 2 runner-ups and a third rounder, I believe. And so then I think it was 2 weeks after that was Earlville Divisional, which was September 10th, somewhere in there. And I ended up running up at that one. At this point, I'm close enough to win the division, but Roger Sauter was having a really good year. So I think after the runner-up in Earlville, I had to go 2 or 3 rounds to pass Roger. So honestly, my whole plan was just to win the division. So my father-in-law's from Northwest Arkansas. Kendra grew up racing at Tulsa all the time. So we decided Tulsa had a double. So we decided, let's go to Tulsa for the double. It's close for Terry. He could go. And honestly, at that point, Terry was pretty far out of the division lead as well. So we all went to Tulsa, and Terry actually runnered up and won the race. He runnered up and won the other one, which catapulted him to win the division. And I was able to win in Tulsa to take the division lead.
So for people who don't understand, and Trevor, many of my WFO radio listeners on a weekly basis, they're John Force fans, right? They want to hear Ron Capps get interviewed. But we love every time we can educate them about what's going on in the Lucas Oil Series, the backbone of the sport. Your guys are out there right alongside those guys and girls racing at the national event. But the divisional events, you were chasing a divisional championship, but you did so well that you were also amassing a world championship points total. That's kind of cool. And how they design it. So you don't have to travel 3,000 miles and go from coast to coast to be a world champion. You can be a world champion in your own kind of area. You did travel though, but that's the point of it.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. We take our best 5 out of 8 divisional races, and then we go to 3 out of 6 national events. And at that point, I only had 1 national event in, and there was only, I believe, 5 national events left. And I also farm for a living, and that was like the end of September. So my busy time for farming is middle of September to end of October.
Oh, wow. So, but right in that time, that's when you were doing all this. So who was farming? What do you got? Robots?
Yeah. So that's the crazy part about the story is that, so Chris Hess, the owner of the car, he took it to St. Louis double at the end of September, and Kendra and my dad also went, and I wasn't going to go for any points at all. And my sister's actually the one who told me, she's like, hey, you're in 8th national points, and you have a chance to honestly just make top 5, top whatever. That was kind of my goal, is top 5. But my plan was to do Vegas at the end of the year there, and if I did well enough, go to Pomona. Well, it just so happened that whole week we were gone, it rained, and that they were going to St. Louis, it rained. So I asked Dad, I said, Texas is next weekend. George Meyer was in St. Louis as well, a good friend of mine. And he was able to haul Chris's car to Texas from St. Louis. And I was just able to fly in. And then, so I only had to take off like 3 or 4 days, which wasn't too bad. And so I got to thank him a lot for doing that. Because if he wouldn't have been able to haul the car, I wouldn't be here at all. So kind of an interesting story how that happened. Ended up going to Texas. And then I won in Dallas, which put me close enough to have a chance at winning the championship.
The Stampede of Speed, the Texas Fall Nationals. I was down there for all 10 days of the deal. It was amazing. They, the Jags All-Stars there as well. And the buckle and the hat and all that, the experience of winning at Dallas propelled you. It gave you the energy. And that's pretty cool. What a great race to win.
Yeah. I've never been there before. So, I mean, it was awesome. Very, very cool place. I'd love to go back. It's just, I don't know if I ever will get to because it's in such a bad time for me, but I'd love to go back. It's a pretty cool place.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the defending race winner, maybe you'll have to come back regardless. All right, so you win Dallas. Where does that put you, and what does that force you to do as the season is winding down? No, that's right in the middle of the countdown, and it's championship time, and there's limited races remaining.
Yeah, so I had, I think I was in 3rd or 4th at that point. I can't remember exactly. So I had one national event I could fully claim. So I had to win one of the next 3 races. So 2 national events and a divisional left. And if I won any one of those races, I could win the national championship, or I'd have to go deep in a couple of them. And so went to Vegas and lost second round. So then if I still won one of the last 2 races, then I could still win the championship.
Wow. And so tell me about the moment. Now it's all on the line, right? And like preparing for that mentally. Okay, this is what we wanted. We've done all this. All these people have helped us. It's not just me this time. It's everybody. It's Chris. It's the people who helped get you to Dallas. It's all these people. You're carrying it all on your back, but you got to perform. That's awesome to even have that opportunity. You were in it. Tell us about it.
Yeah. So the Vegas Divisional, we were actually, to make this story even a little crazier, the car, I was struggling with the car a little bit in 60 foot. And it was kind of a struggle. And then, so the Divisional had a test day. So I was able to test and actually got it to repeat really good. I had Chris and Steve Whitfield helping me there, and Danny Nelson was there to help as well. So it was awesome to have them there, and got to test it a little bit. And I ended up making it to the final round. So if I win the final, I win the championship. And I had the guy beat on the tree by 20 numbers to 20 thousandths of a second. And I ended up, car got loose in the final. So I wasn't able to get down the track. So then it put it that I had to win second round in Pomona then.
All right. And so you roll to the starting line in Pomona, and this is it, the chance to become a champion. And how you deal with it. Like, I have no idea. Rolling to the starting line, going through your normal procedure, trying to block that out, I would imagine. Tell us about the moment you became a champion.
Yeah. So trying to block it out, it's hard, obviously. Just trying to do my job and trying to win the round. And it obviously showed because I was, I definitely knew when I let go of the button that I was definitely a little bit late. And my opponent was a little bit late as well. So that really helped. And ended up going 990 with a 0. So I ran right on the number, got the win light, came around the corner. Obviously didn't sink in. I don't know if it still has sunk in, but thankfully, I mean, I think it was all planned because my wife and my dad and my mom, and my boys, they weren't allowed to be in Vegas because they were taking care of the farm. And so they were able to come to Pomona. So they got to be there when it all happened. So it was pretty incredible to have them all there, and I'll never forget it.
Wow. It's such a special moment. You went 900 to win the world championship. That's crazy. Did you have the sticker? Did you have the right trailers right on the money decal? Did you get the money?
Of course I did not. So I know. I'll have it on for sure next year.
You're never going to run around 900 ever again once you put this sticker on.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Hey, whatever. It's just part of the story, but I'm sure Michael Scott's like, hey man, we had that money available
just put it on. That's all. Just put the sticker in.
All right. So you're, like tough guy, racer, Minnesota farmer. I don't want to call you man a few words because you got a sense of humor, but the emotion of this deal, how special it is, how hard it is, the fact that you're doing it with your fam, it's not lost on you. I'm not trying to break it down or anything, but people, they want to know that the people are that they care, that this is something that's, I don't want to call it religion, but it's hardcore. You guys are living the life. Yeah, for sure.
Starts with my dad and my mom. My dad got us into this racing. He was actually a national champion in snowmobile racing. And so he had always teased me as we were racing that he was a national champion. I never was, but no, he started us in it, and my sister and my brother. I have two other sisters that just aren't interested in it, but my other two, we were pretty hardcore for a while. We still are, and they ended up having families, and Carrie had to kind of slow down. My brother Matt had to slow down a little bit, but thankfully my wife is a racer as well, and she gets it. And our two boys are totally into racing, and she takes care of us for sure. My wife, she was able to let me go. It's hard to leave a 1 and a 3-year-old and go on the road for 3 weeks or so without them. And she held down the fort for sure. And I can't thank them enough.
Yeah, she's a national event winner herself. So it's, not that you both race, but you both got, Wallies sitting around all over the house. No, I get that. You got these little, kids looking up at you and they love you and you got to leave to go race. It's got to be a feeling of confliction. Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you're gone 3 weeks at a time or so, it's definitely hard for sure. But it was worth it. You won the world championship. You'll always be a world champion. You got to go to Southern California and the photographs of all the world champions. You got to be on the big stage at the, Camping World Now Mission Foods Series Awards banquet. You got to be on stage in, historic Pomona, just amazing stuff. That experience, what was it all like? You did a great job with your speech. I remember it was, if memory serves me right, it was short and to the point. Yeah. No, it was awesome. Great experience. Something I'll never forget, obviously. And Pomona's an awesome track. I love that place. It's pretty incredible, and hopefully we can do it again sometime. Well, sometime, right? What's the 2024 plan? Are you going to go right back after it? Do you have a schedule plan? Which car are you going to run? I'm sure Chris wants his car back now, the World Championship car. What's your plan for 2024? Honestly, don't know. So we're going to start out here. I don't have Mullis is building me a Roadster. Hopefully it will be done by June. That's kind of the plan. So hopefully debut a new Mullis Roadster. But other than that, we're going to go to Phoenix for the double divisional in 2 weeks with just my dragster and Kendra's dragster. And then we'll do a little bit of bracket racing down south while we're there. And then, then I guess we get to farming. I my busy time in the spring is usually April and May. So not much racing through that time. And then probably start in June and do the division schedule. Right now, I don't see going after a national championship, but with the two kids. But you just never know. You never know. Depends on how you start. Okay, you're in Minnesota. What's the temp? It's actually pretty good today. It was like 45. That's not bad. Yeah, that's not normal. So this year has been very abnormal. Typically now it'd be like 0 degrees, but it's been very abnormal. Well, when I went to Kansas, it was 0, and they were telling me it wasn't like that's not normal either. Nothing is normal. anymore. But I can tell you, Phoenix, it's not going to be 0. So you'll have a great time.
Right.
Trevor, thank you very much for coming on WFO Radio, sharing your story of winning the world championship. I love doing these interviews. Always learn like that your dad was a national champion snow machine racer and has been taunting you for your entire racing career. And you finally get to say, Dad, now I am too.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Not anymore, Dad. Now I got one too. That is so great. And you're going to have little junior dragsters real soon too. So I appreciate you coming on the show, sharing your story. I wish you luck this year, and we'll see you out there. But congratulations on becoming a world champion.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
There he goes, Trevor Larson with us here on WFO Radio. Your Lucas Oil Super Gas World Champ. .90 Racing, guys. It is awesome. You take a little extra to understand it, right? Like if you're used to just wide open throttle all the time, it's not that, for a reason, for a very specific and defined reason. They want to make it a challenge, and it's not really about how much money you spend. It's about how good you are in the cockpit of the race car and how well you know your car and how much you can make your car do what you want it to do, as opposed to just destroying your competition. Let's get a new camshaft in there and put it on and make it go fast. .90 Racing. It's really amazing. You guys spend a little time watching on NHRA.tv. And now I will tell you about the people who make it possible for me to go WFO. Like we do this show each week. If you go right down there on YouTube, subscribe, click the bell, enable notifications. You'll never miss a show. We do a lot of live shows as well. And our Apple Podcast, Spotify, SoundCloud, for those of you who are audio only people, you're driving, you can't be looking at the screen. You can check out our show whenever you want. We've got literally hundreds and hundreds of great interviews in there. And it's all because of these people. Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology. TotalSeal.com if you're building an engine, if you're an engine builder. If you have an engine builder, make sure they're using the latest, greatest piston ring technology. A lot aren't. Yeah, it's always worked. I've always done it this way. It's good enough. It's great. It's not. The technology has advanced light years in the past 10 years when it comes to ring seal. FTI Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters on board with WFO Radio. Paul Lee, he's a driveline specialist, right? He's got McLeod clutches, he's got FTI, he's got Silver State, and it's amazing. Automatic transmissions, torque converters, and FTIparts.com. Go to FTI if you're a .90 racer, if you're a top dragster, top sportsman racer, pro mod, or even you got a street car, they do torque converters. Foggett. This is Gary Stinnett's company, and it's really amazing to see how the logo Foggett is advancing out there. It's in the drag racing world, but we need to get it out there amongst these other racers. It protects the inside of your engine, but it's not like an engine, a fuel additive. It's not that. It's to protect it after you're done racing. You spray it down your carburetor or in your spark plug holes to coat your cylinder finish, which is so vital. That's where the horsepower is. We learned that with Total Seal. And you fog it down at the end of the night. The engine is hot. You put it in the trailer. Condensation occurs. That causes microscopic corrosion and even creates sulfuric acid, which damages the inside of your engine. And you do that 50 times, you got a problem. By spraying it down with Foggett, you can protect the inside of your engine and reduce that damaging corrosion. Foggett is available at Summit Racing Equipment. It's available at Foggett.com, and it is available on Amazon. So if you want to go to Amazon and search Foggit, Foggett. Bernie's Speed Shop in Ocala, Florida. 100,000 square foot of classic cars, exotic cars, muscle cars. They do it all. They've got an inventory. So if you're looking, man, I want to get that car for my midlife crisis. I'm kidding. Maybe you want to sell your midlife crisis car. I don't know. They do consignment as well at Bernie's. And so if you're looking to sell a car of consequence, something that's a little special, they know how to target the people who want that car, as opposed to just putting a sign on it or putting it in your local auto magazine. Go to Bernie's, call Josh Hart, or go to bernies.com and tell them you heard about it on WFO Radio. The folks at CWT Industries on board with WFO here in 2024. Balance machines. Machine shop balance machines. If it rotates, it can be balanced. We're talking about everything from crankshafts to turbochargers to superchargers. And not just on the racetrack. Farming equipment, diesel, Caterpillar, all these giant engines, earth movers. CWT makes a balancer. If you'd like a personalized introduction, if you want to upgrade your machine shop, email me, Joe at WFOradio.com, and I'll put you together with any of my sponsors that you're interested in. That's why we're doing it. You might not need it right now, but if you've got an old school balancer in your machine shop, the new school stuff that CWT has got, digital, touchscreen, mostly automated, just turns and tells you where to put the weight. It's amazing. And we're going to be talking about it a little bit more as the year goes on. And then Phillips Connect, smart trailer technology, Jim Epler, Mr. 300. He designed it for trucks and trailers over the road. We're talking about transportation industry folks who want to make sure that their equipment is safe and operating correctly. Air pressure, brake lights, load sensors, all of it. And you've got your trucks and trailers out over the road. What is their status? How do you know what their status is? Is there a wheel hub heating up? Is there something about to happen? The sensors will let you know. Call Mike, get him off the road. And that is Phillips-Connect.com. Plus our great friends at Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, Rodax Coffee and Grills.com, and Samtech.edu. Big supporters of WFO Radio. Another champion in the books. Lucas Oil Series racers are truly and genuinely the backbone of NHRA drag racing. I get so much of a thrill watching them go out there and compete, whether it be stock, super stock, 890, 990, and maybe someday 1090 for a world championship. Congratulations to Trevor and the fam, the whole fam up there. You guys, you know, he rolls with the fam every second of the way. And I've been fortunate enough to meet and hang out with many of you guys. Congratulations on your championship. Hit the WFO archive, more champions in there and more to come on WFO Radio.
This is WFO Radio.